Hello, good morning, everyone. Hello, everyone's. Can you list? Can you hear me? Okay. Good. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So once again, we are here to do the regular Sunday morning meditation followed by a talk. But here I'm going to combine the talk with the meditation while talk is happening. I'll pause a few minutes so that we can reflect. So rejoice, everyone, to be here and have the time and mindfulness and to be here together. And so today we're going to do the talk on the theme of understanding sentient beings, number 6. Do we understand sentient beings? They're so colorful, so difficult to understand, and very much like ourselves. So that's a good topic to think from the Buddhist point of view. So let's do the refuge and the prayers as we usually do to tune up our good reason to follow the way of the Buddha, and how much true and refuge the Dharma is as a medicine in our everyday life, and particularly when we don't understand things, when we look in the Dharma, it shows everything, how we should tread our way instead of driven by emotive or compulsive kind of behavior. When we have Dharma, even better than half a dozen friends, because they'll pull you either in many different directions, but Dharma shows the right direction. So therefore, to reiterate that, we renew our refuge and commitment to practice the 4 immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, joyfulness, and equanimity in relation to all sentient beings. So join your hands at the heart, and we see their prayers. Our world has seen this week passing away of a very special person, the Queen. I think she did very well in the life, to be so fortunate in her own life, and maybe brought so much hope and grace and dignity in many people's lives. But now, as all things that are born must die, she too have joined the others in the world of death, and she'll be buried next week sometime, we know, and so there are a lot of things that will be relevant in today's talk. So let's join our hands and do the prayers first. Thank you, everyone. Oyenda Buddha Dharma Sangha Aitere Kyete Ladame Bhavachu Ayendala Ajare Buddhavatu Vebye Endabu Adama Sangha Aitere Kyete Ladame Bhavachu Ayendala Ajare Buddhavatu Vebye Endabu Dadama Sangha Aitere Kyete Ladame Bhavachu Ayendala Ajare Buddhavatu beings. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know above for happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a power of happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion of those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a power of happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion to those near and far. According to the intelligence and predisposition of it, where the Yutanda Dharma, agrelo and common will go. So firstly, everyone, I'd like to invite you to bring your posture into place, to sit in a meditative state. Even though I will be talking most of the time, but I like you to be sitting still in a very good meditation of listening mindfully, but at the same time sitting upright in a good meditative posture, with your hands on the lap, with the back straight, with the eyes half open, not blinking, sitting very still, and has a very good sincere altruistic motivation, not just sitting for the session or self or today and just for the pleasure of the body, but for the sake of mind stream, for the benefit of others, and so on. So with this kind of very sincere motivation to understand sentient beings through meditation and listening to the teachings, and then have a very serene attention that maybe the things that are expressed through my words is one, but you are able to see them much more clearly than the actual expressed words could have you, because your mind is comprehending, understanding the thing with great serene and sharpness of your own mental faculty. So, and then, so with this in mind, let's sit quietly for a few moments before I begin on the theme. So just sit still in that state of calm, peaceful, serene, meditative posture, and checking your intention. And who are the beings we least understand? And we misunderstand them wrongly, and we still have a fundamental difficulties without knowing their own attitudes and opinions. They may be contrary to what the sentient beings are like themselves. Or are they? So you can remain very still, in very clear state of mind, in meditative state, but I will try to portray the images of some sentient beings we don't understand. And with today I thought we're focusing on sentient beings who have hostility towards each other and who are not willing to drop their hostile, angry, and resentment towards each other. And that is a very big bulk of sentient beings are imprisoned in their anger and resentment and hostility. Psychologically, this is in the minds of most sentient beings, particularly those who are little developed, more developed kind of mind like humans. Humans got more hostility, long held resentment and anger than animals or other sentient beings. Because human beings, even though is a lot more advanced in their intelligent way of thinking and searching and worrying about future and what is good for them and what was good, what wasn't good in the past, they have huge stock of memory to the extent of holding this resentment and hostility towards each other. And particularly if we know that someone is hostile and angry and have spoken or doing bad things and harmful things towards us, and we still remember that very one thing they did, we still could not give up this feeling of ill will and resentment. And this is a really big problem. This is the most destructive of all emotions that obscures us from understanding sentient beings. In Buddhism, it's called hell beings. When they talk about symbolic hell beings, they talk about 18 types of hell beings. But we don't need to go in any of the 18 type of hell beings whose ground are all molten, burning iron ground or frozen completely like Antarctica for all the time, and there's not a single patch of cloth to keep you warm, or whatever the very descriptive suffering and hell beings are portrayed. But that's actually symbolic. But symbolic because to us it is not. We will quickly get out of the icy places, or quickly get out of burning iron ground, or even the grass that is burning a couple of kilometers from your house. You will truly quickly try to get out of that place and put out the fire and get out. But here, what's really the hell beings Buddha is talking about is that we are actually burning in the inferno of hostility. And someone else is also, if they have the same hostility towards anyone, including us, that those sentient beings are usually within our very realm of near and dear. But the dearness and nearness that we used to have has been soured by mutual wrongdoing or unskillfulness, and then they develop ill will. Instead of the good friends, they become ill will. And as a result of that, it's worse than standing on top of burning iron ground. Burning iron ground only burns the flesh. But if you get out of the iron ground, then you're saved. But one who's keeping the hatred is worse than burning iron ground, worse than frozen into icy place. People can be very cold towards each other. People could be very aggressive, like a fire blazing, burning each other. So burning anger, where they speak, where they think about the events are so treacherous. It's worse than hell. In hell, at least your body get burnt, but mind at least doesn't suffer as much. But in human beings who are keeping this anger and hostility, just think of someone. Maybe we don't have same degree of anger towards them. Thankfully, because of the Dharma, we try to practice. We try to not to retaliate with anger, and hostility with hostility, and bad mouthing with bad mouthing, and insult with insult. We are taught how to practice. Don't learn. We try to practice, accept their sufferings, and misunderstand their own karma, and do not sort of react to them to make it even more worse. So, but there are lots of people who are not in Dharma, who are burning in the inferno of anger and resentment. And they are in hell. They are in hell of fire. They are in the invisible fire of hell that is called anger. There is no greater harm to anyone that can be caused by others or themselves than by hatred. That's why Shantideva says, "Shedang tavu dikpa me," there's no great ill-doing or wrongdoing than that of the ill will and hatred. And it is the hatred that does not allow people to understand each other, that puts a big bar and great kind of barrier, and you're not willing to talk to them, and they're not willing to talk to you verbally, but they're both emotionally at wars. They are in emotional wars. If the two person are having verbal exchanges, that would be a war of words. But there are war of hostility. Are they or not? Were they or not? Maybe maybe one who has refuge in the Dharma, we do not engage in such wars. But we know some people that we know between such and such, their anger towards each other, their hostility towards it, they have no intention of making friends or reconciling at all, and they are continuing to stay in that inferno. So I'd like you to reflect briefly here. I'll pause for a few minutes of meditation. Just think of who those people are, sentient beings are, who are actually our deep concern, not only concern in this case, their anger towards each other. Is there something we can do? Why can't we do? We have some degree of how to practice loving kindness towards others who might be angry to us, and we don't see it's entirely their fault. We see them as they are under the, we may have done similar things wrong to them. We may have not been entirely skillful and therefore instigated, upset them. And we were party to their anger. But they are entirely responsible for their own misery, but they don't know that. We have contributed some, and we are willing to take them back. We are willing to apologize. We may even have done that. But there are many people in our midst who are not willing to go in the path and continue to hold the view that they have been wrongly done by the other, and therefore they have every reason to keep their resentment and anger for good. What a terrible tragedy that it is. Is there something that we can do to influence them one another and try to sit in this very sad, melancholic feeling of how many sentient beings are in the inferno of mutual hatred and no willingness to make peace with each other? And that's terrible. They live in nice houses, double brick, double glaze, insulated, and reverse cycle air conditioning, nice, beautiful, modern furnitures, all multitude of kinds of food in the fridge and pantry. They got everything, but they're deep down emotionally, they're burning in the inferno of the iron ground of hatred, burning iron ground of hatred. So let's spend a few minutes here reflecting on the sentient beings, such as those who are in actual war, those who are actually bringing hell on each other. Look at what's going on in Ukraine. All these hells, all these fires, all these infernos. They bomb this countless missiles, just burning and killing each other. Look, these are real hell. What's the thing they are going to? What are they trying to resolve? This greed and hatred collectively how nations fight in the Western world, how individuals in between also at wars, wars of emotional hostility and resentment towards each other. So this is very, very important meditation. Try to understand who do not understand each other and how much they bring the sufferings. So sit up again and reflect on these points to arouse deep understanding of the plight of helpless sentient beings who resort to hate, but only to make them suffer more. What a pity. So the sentient beings or human beings who are embracing their righteousness and feel entitled that they have many reasons to stay angry because others' wrongdoing is so bad that there is no reason that one should stop being angry. So people become very irrational. They may be very close families. They may be very close, like mother and son or father and son, but over one or two issues they have a huge fallout. As a result of that, they don't want to do anything. And then one leaves, another tells them to get out of my life. The other one also leaves, but only to keep the hate going. Maybe they have moved so that they don't have to see each other's face, but they actually have kept the hatred towards each other as if they're going to have a huge reward. We see that happening in very famous families, who are so estranged, who doesn't want to invite for whatever the occasion because they think the one is angry. They were too bad to be part of my thing. And as a result of that, they might be living in amazing castles. They may have amazing cars and butlers and drivers and officers and big kind of ceremonies with thousands of people greeting on all sides of the road and big pageants and so on. But deep down, their heart is completely injured by the deeply lodged splinter of hatred and resentment. And their life is completely contradictory. Looks all good outside, but inside very pale and empty because their hatred towards one or two members of the family, and then they also side each other and goes against each other, and they then justify the anger. And they justifiably think each other that we have good reason to not to go to them and not to go near them. And they think they are mutually benefiting, or they have some right reason to do that. We can see the hell in the face of those. They don't even want to go near. If they say something about each other, it's all negative, all bad. And of course, media is the army of hells. Media would whip them up and only to make the misery a little bit more well known and make it more confusing. So we can see how much fame and wealth and power, people who have wealth and fame and power and money are actually living in hells. Why? Because they don't understand each other. They just couldn't be bothered to understand each other and be patient, and how one has been discriminatory, how one has made remarks that are very discriminatory to each other. As a result of that, it hurts one, it's hurt others, and it hurts everyone in that side of the family or something like that. As a result of that, just maybe some small remark about the color of the skin, maybe too dark or too pale or too tall, something like that. We have seen how estranged the huge relationship is completely destroyed by this small misunderstanding. And maybe the person was never meant to say that, and never didn't mean that, but they couldn't control, but said something. And there are so many family relationships has been destroyed by such a kind of a misunderstanding and therefore misstatement. And on top of that, of course, people will interpret wrongly. So therefore, they all live in very nice castles. They all live in very nice houses. They can't stand the other, but their hatred towards each other is unabated. As a result of that, it's not only one or two people, but all the people siding this one, siding that one, all are sharing the hatred. They think they are standing up for each other, but what they do is they actually share the same misunderstanding between two sentient beings, and it become even more whipped up by other sentient beings who are taking sides for whatever deluded reason. But very few are there who will know this and feel pity and feel futile to be engaging in such hostile and anger and resentment and bitterness and speaking so unkindly and disrespectfully towards each other, or even to some other media or like that. Then all of their so-called statement become completely put in air to dirty even more. So we live in an amazing 21st century where we have the paved roads and very manicured, environment, houses, living rooms, everything is so good. But deep inside, most people's heart is injured by this destructive emotion of hostility, anger, and resentment. And this is hell. Human beings are only human in form, but in substance, they are in hell. If they are, a lot of people are developing very, 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 very difficult diseases. These diseases are not causeless outcomes. They are resentment, they are bitterness, they are anger, they are hostility. You can tell a person who's hostile, his face looks very pale, and the person looks very, very pale and very, very miserable because, some are biological disorders. We have no reason to think that nobody is subject to it. Everybody is, But a lot of their ill health is contributed by resorting to such destructive emotion of hate and hostility, and which is hell. In Buddhism, it says that when a person is born in a hell, their environment is such, their suffering is such, the duration is like countless eons and years, and there's not a single remedy for a while. But only difference between the hell that described in the text and the hell in the minds of the people are that physically, outwardly, we are deceived as if our life is good. We have all the floors, all the lawns, all the streets, everywhere clean and manicured, everywhere very clean. Some people have people who come and clean their house twice a week, and so on, and it looks spotless. The person who's sitting on the couch or lying on the bed couldn't sleep because he's still keeping this hate and hostility. It's like the fish thrown into the hot sand. It's flip, flop. Wherever it moves, it's still stuck in the hate, So it's not in a comfortable house, not in a comfortable suburb or country. It's all delusion. It's a deceptive. It looks all out nice outside, but inside it's all treacherous. When sentient beings don't understand the futility and destructiveness of emotions like a hatred, they justify themselves to keep the hate going and no intention to make peace and drop it and take up medicine or Dharma. So that's why when you have Dharma, you have less chance of getting in the hell because it is usually made up in the mind. Bad products are made in one country, but all sufferings are made on our mind. We know some very flimsy product that you buy in $2 places. You know where they are made in. They usually say where it's made. And like that, all these flimsy thoughts and attitudes that doesn't really do anything, but it only destroys and harms you, are made in your head, made in your own mind. They're not imported from anyone else's. They're not caused by somebody. Some people may have conditioned it, unfortunately, because they don't understand also. They don't know what they're doing to themselves, let alone what they're doing to us, because they don't understand us. Because they're just as fit as us and are not understanding each other. So they're just as destructive, they're just as childish, they're just as irrational, and they're just as vindictive, and that so put ourselves and others in the same boat, so to speak, and then fail. Like there are people who did lots of things, in the family, in what community, or in the whatever, and all of a sudden you don't see them anymore. They just quickly make a drastic exit, and they leave with a strong resentment. And then now resent all the things they did. I thought it was all, there's nobody forced them to do. It is all because they want to do. But yet they now have this amazing resentment. They just misunderstand. And so there are lots of people who have left, who are leaving from one place, from home, to maybe from their original home, or somewhere else, or job, or workplace, or community organization. And of course, some people live very gracefully. They don't leave a lot of things left to mop up. Others live with lots of, all the things they did is not a cause of rejoicing for themselves, but the cause of resentment. So they're in hell. So what did they do? They create the hell for themselves to carry this big burden wherever they go. So we have to understand how uneducated sentient beings are in relation to managing and guarding their own emotions. They are completely illiterate in terms of knowing their own emotional situations, whether they are resorting to destructive emotion, or whether they're cultivating intelligent emotions. So Buddhism and its teachings and the meditation that we do is try to have a good sighting, good spotting, that you wanted to spot your own mind that is creating this resentment, creating this bitterness. And everything what we have done is not done with goodwill, done with resentment, and then still one is hating that, why I did this, why don't I get this, I don't get this. That kind of attitude is a hell. That also become cause of attachment. One is attached to what one did, so one didn't really give anything. It's like a fishing. You were on a fishing expedition. You didn't go to feed the fish. You went to catch the fish. And because you didn't catch them well and you lost few things that you put on the fishing bait, and then now you're miserable. So some people's fishing expedition completely turn out to be drastically very unsuccessful. And then they are now angry. They are now resentful. And they are very hostile. And they are very negative. How did they succeed to become so negative? Why? Because they don't understand their own self as a sentient being. They don't understand the first person sentient being, let alone they understand other sentient beings. They think it's the other sentient beings not treating them with this or that. That is because of their not being able to do. That's not the case, because one is attached. One is resentful that what I did. One didn't do willingly and dedicated for the sake of all for whatever the cause it was. That's what the Buddhist teaching says, that whatever the object, whatever the action, whoever you did anything good, you should straight away dedicate and not get attached to the object or the action, and let alone yourself who did perform the duty. So that's what the Buddhist teaching, whether it's a act of perfection of generosity or whatever it is, you should completely rejoice and let go, and you shouldn't subsequently complain about all the list of things that you did to your mother or to your son or to your school or to your whatever it is. We shouldn't be thinking and moaning and groaning, what amazing what I did and didn't get this. That's the hell. That's the hell the sentient beings make in their own mind, without understanding that they are the one who is going to get just that. Now this is such a great disability. This is a disability. This is why we take refuge, not to go in that direction, but take refuge and make promise not to do that. Now everyone can reflect on quite a lot of situations where sentient beings are doing that repeatedly again and again. And then they become, as a result of, when when the gods become very discontented, then they become jealous gods. when they themselves are angry, then they become, why did he do that? Why did he get that? Huh? And then, why don't I get that? And then they actually double the problem. They're already bad enough with the hatred, and then they develop jealousy, and then they develop aggression, and then they resort to hostile words and say bad things about others, and then they think there is no consequences. They don't realize that people will quote them. And then they have nowhere to go because they have basically dirty everywhere where they went. That's what Sakya Pandita says. The jackdaw, which means crow, goes and takes human waste, eat human poos, And when he has finished eating a human poos, because it's all over his beak, it's not just the few pieces that he swallowed, but a lot of them is all over his beak. Do you know what he does? He goes and climbs on someone's golden pinnacle or a prayer flag, and he cleans his beaks on them. So the people who actually consumed the poo themselves, and they are full of that, and goes and clean the poo on other places. Why? They're bringing hell wherever they go, because they didn't understand what they were crafting. They are the creator of their own hostility and resentment and bitterness, yet they externalize that to others. And what a pity. This is what the sentient beings do. That's what the destructive emotions, they destroy the people. Their good many years of work or whatever, as a motherhood or whatever, is completely destroyed by her resentment toward the children or resentment toward her husband or whatever. And so all the hard working that one did as a mother or the father or the whatever it is completely destroyed. That's why there's a lot of estranged families. Why? They're all living in hell. They don't know how to handle these things. And this is what understanding sentient beings who resort to anger, resentment, and then develop all kinds of disorders, stress disorder, whether it's post-traumatic or present traumatic. They're probably mostly present traumatic disorders, but they all call them past traumatic stress disorders. They're actually cooking them as now, The more they go and clean their dirty beak, they don't realize they're cleaning the beak on the clean object has no consequences. Of course they have terrible consequences, because everybody will quote them. Oh, he said that, she said that, this is what she is talking about. They don't realize that people will quote. And then they become alienated. Not only just from the place where they left, maybe the home they left or the work they left, then everywhere there's, oh, he again, oh, she comes again. Because they have seen the person, and then they have almost nowhere they will be loved or respected, because it's like a burning iron ground. Wherever you go, there is not a place that is safe to put your feet on, because you basically haven't left any place safe, because one has basically spread these negativities. So therefore, this hell, like Shantideva and Buddhist scholars talks about, where everything is iron ground, burning, and wherever you go, it becomes another burning house, you get locked in. Exactly, wherever you go, as long as you take the hatred, as long as you have no intention to make peace and reconcile and think it's my wrong, I must take refuge, I should practice peace and compassion and forgiveness. Until one does that, one is constantly going from another burning house to another burning house. And they all get locked. And there will be another death, there will be another momentary revival, and there will be another death, what we call reviving hell, howling hell. Howling hell. I would say jackdawing hell. I call that jackdawing hell, The jackdaw cleans his dirty beak on everywhere, So wherever the person is howling, talking about their nonsense, and they are broadcasting their own destructive emotive nature, and that is what's happening. if you look at it, wow, if somebody talks something about negative things about somebody, you can meditate. This is what I was. This is exactly what the people do each other. This is exactly what they don't realize, that their bad mouthing has no consequences. That is the jackdawing I'm referring to. That is actually, this is what sentient beings, they themselves don't understand their own behavior. How can they understand other people's behavior? We can easily judge people, what is wrong and what right. We can barely understand our own behavior. So this is how sentient beings, unfortunately, unconsciously create hell. And to put out the fire of this anger and resentment, one needs to meditate and practice patience. Patience is the medicine to quell the hate and resentment and anger. And in meditation, we learn to do just that. To sit still and be patient with your own body and try to sit good 5, 10, 20, whatever minutes you sit. Try to be patient with your body and let the mind actually be guard of your meditation and try to sit still. And then again, the momentum, clarity in your mind become clarified. No, I don't want to keep believing this kind of line of argument or this kind of narrative. I've been believing all these years. I'm not going to tell this to anyone because this is all my rubbish, my own hell, my self-created hell. Why should I think it is all doing over others when I'm actually making it worse myself? Am I helping anybody? Not at all. I'm only harming myself and like-minded people. So I must make peace and drop this terrible unconscious habit. And this is death before dying. This is not living. This is death. And with this in mind, we need to empathize how many sentient beings are living in very first world countries, nice suburbs, nice houses, near very nice locations. People all envy you where you're living. But deep inside, person is like a fish on the sand. Aren't they? There's so many of them. So the hell beings, who constitute a very huge part of the sentient beings, is described in many descriptive characteristics of what the hells are like. They usually divide into hot hells and cold hells. The cold hell refers not only in an icy place where there's not a single piece of cloth, one is naked, there's no time, even the sun becomes so cold. Of course, moon is very cold. There's not a single thing that keeps them warm, it is mentioned. There's not a single place, there is no frozen. This means the person who has the cold feeling towards each other, they're refusing to talk to each other. They're so cold. They don't want to look at you. They want to avoid each other, and they want to sort of basically show this cold feeling and speak very coldly about each other, negatively about each other, condescendingly about the other. These are the causes. These are the karmic causes of the cold hell, where one is actually practiced, when one is actually doing that in this life, creating the causes to end up with the kind of incessant suffering of being in cold, and so the cold hell they're talking about are mainly talking about people who are emotionally very, very aversive and hostile, and therefore are very cold towards each other, and ignoring each other, avoiding each other, even never speak nicely to others because one is so cold towards that. And this extreme kind of evasive attitude that one has towards others, that is a result of hatred. Hatred is making oneself to feel so angry and full of cold feeling. There's no warmth. And as a result of that, people actually become subjected to develop cold diseases. Cold diseases, mainly arthritic, swelling in the limbs, and various problems with the bones. All these things are immediate effect of those cold feelings. In the long run, once one dies from this life, it definitely is said to be no other option but go to direct hell. The going to hell doesn't even need to spend a day in the transit lounge of Bardo, I'm told. Otherwise, everybody goes to a place called Bardo, where people who couldn't decide where to go. But those who have been being angry all their lives and being hostile, and no intention to stop the hostility towards each other, being no intention to admit one's own share of mistakes, no intention to forgive the other, that we have misunderstood our father, that we have misunderstood our mother, we have been very judgmental and negative to him or her, and then we share the anger of someone else in the family or siblings, and we completely went on that side, and we decided to keep that hatred. Because the longer you keep the hate and ill will towards somebody, that much quicker we will go to hell. People tell you go to hell, and you can tell, I'm heading that way anyway, don't tell me to go there. Give me a little break before. Nobody will go to hell because somebody tells you to go to hell, But those who tell you to go to hell probably will be there before you. because they're speaking with such harshness, they're speaking with such kind of a sharp tongue, because sharp tongue is cause of a hell, They have hells in the hot hells where your tongue is pulled out miles, and then they bring this burning iron plow, and they slice them into pieces. You can see that in Singapore, where all the Chinese Buddhist description of 18 hells, you can go and see them. All Buddhist and even the Muslim description of hell has a lot of agreement with the Buddhist. I don't know why all the religions agree with the description of the hells. And you wouldn't believe how horrendously similar they are. Description of, they're not really that difficult to understand psychologically, because people who have been speaking harsh words towards each other and speak with such venom, towards their own mother, towards their own father, towards their own loved ones, they have no intention to reconcile. They have no intention thinking it's partially my own fault, and partially maybe it's their fault. But how about my own share of this venom and anger? It hasn't got this any risk. They have not willing to think about that. They think it's all the fault of the other. This is what makes the hell such a what do you call it, interminable. There's no termination. The Avicii hell is a hell. There is no termination. There's no reprieve. There's not a single kind of a break or recess from the suffering. One is constantly arguing and keeping this wrong line of argument, and one thinks of keeping the hatred and ill will, and as a result of that, one is going to share that towards others. One try to influence somebody with one's own bad information, and the vulnerable one will fall prey to you. But those who have Dharma, they will say, oh, this person is so bad-mouthing like that, but they don't realize this is creating their own tongue to be plowed by this hot iron plow very soon. Or they don't realize their own karma has consequences in themselves. So you, instead of being angry at them, you feel sorry how sentient beings don't understand each other and their own karma, and yet they can't consciously say these bad words about their own mother, about their own father, about their own loved ones, and about their own friends, about their own whatever it is. People speak such things. Wow, this is how sentient beings don't understand what they are saying or doing about the other, thinking it is the faults of others, because they don't realize their own action has more causes for them to suffer than actions of any. We never suffer under the hand of other people. We only suffer under the irrational thoughts of ourselves more often than under the hand of others. Under the hand of others is just a condition. How long we suffer is not how long the person tortures us, how long we keep the resentment. Nelson Mandela, when he got freed from the prison, Long Bay prison, whatever the prison name is, I may be wrong here, Long Bay, I don't know, that came out of the blue. And he said that even he's freed from the prison, he says, unless he give up hatred, he's not free from the shackles. And that's exactly what's true. He must have contemplated in prison so long. Even he's a freed man from the prison and become whatever, until he get rid of hatred, he's not a free man. And that's a really good observation. Even if we are freed, we are totally, people honor us, respect us, make you president. That's exactly what he said. Even you have all of that, but these are all superficial. If your heart is still bleeding with hatred and resentment and anger, because he knows that being in the hell, being in the prison, he came to know that. He came to know that. Of course, there are karma. There are karmic causes for him to be there. Maybe he's a bodhisattva. I don't know. Maybe he is bodhisattva and he suffered for his people. And from our point of view, that appears to be the case. He went there not for himself, but for the plight of his people who have been treated so badly by the supremacists, by the people who invade and rule the country. So, but he realized that even his people and himself become freed from apartheid and the maltreatment by the people, but until his people or himself get free from hatred, he realized he's not free. And that's amazing teaching. That's really, he actually went and had to stay in prison. There was no place that he can go. It was all prison. He was just prison. It's just like a hell. The hell is a prison. Being in hell, prison is hell. You can't go anywhere. Your all doors are locked. It's just a hell. So when people are in hell, even the cells of hells, I should say, and then they realize, oh, what must be What must be like to be free from, to be out of the cells of hells? But he said, even if he's out of the cell of the jails, but he still is not free until he give up hatred. This is he discovered, This is what made Nelson Mandela someone whose life and legacy not to be forgotten. Not only by his people in South Africa, but everyone in the whole world. Why did they honor him with the Nobel Peace Prize? People don't get Nobel Peace Prize for small acts, for very great, gallant effort for people to realize. So you could be freed from being bound by chains, but what if you're still angry? That's exactly Buddha called samsara as a prison. This samsara person who's full of hatred is in prison. He doesn't need to be gone into condemned into the jail. He is already in prison. Wherever he goes, whether he goes to Queensland, whether he goes to the Bali or where holiday, that's just temporary facelift. But his mind is still in hell. Maybe there is a temporarily there's no suffering for a couple of days. They call temporary hell. They have some called minor hells. The minor hells are only minor in the sense it does have some little breaks, It may not go for so long, So a lot of the human beings who are in hatred and who enjoy one moment and angry another moment, they are actually in minor hells. Minor hells in human rebirth. So, when you can say, how are you? People always say, how are you? Oh, I'm human, okay, today. I'm today human. Oh, today I'm precious human rebirth. Don't worry. Thank goodness I realize my life is precious human rebirth. I rejoice all my goodness of people. I'm so cognizant of my own flaws. I will never talk about other people's flaw. So when you're in that, you're a sentient being who understand what you need to do the work. Otherwise people say, how are you? And they start talking all the terrible things that's going on and how people are treating or whatever. And they're in hell. They don't say, hello, I'm in hell. Basically, if you listen to them, they're in hell, basically. You can see the description of what they're talking is all negative, all hostility, criticism, and cleaning their dirty beak to your ears, and you wish you had a very hygienic ear that doesn't allow such foreign product to get into your eardrums. You should be very watchful. You wouldn't believe how when you say how are you means are you in human realm or are you in hell realm? Are you in hungry ghost realm? So often it's very indicative of what state of mind have we chosen to be. Are we cognizant of what thought we have chosen that is making us to suffer, or what kind of thought we have chosen to be free from the sufferings? So if you understand sentient beings, you can see they are in trouble. They are in misery, where they behave, where they talk, where they think. It has nothing to do with who they're talking about. It has all to do with what they are like themselves. Think like that. Because that way, at least you'll be able to focus with certain degree of kindness and compassion to themselves, and not to let their beak to dirty your little friendship with others. Because you are able to understand sentient beings who is talking bad things, who's doing bad things, who they're talking about. You know them. You know them as much as you understand them. But you can see how these people don't understand. And as a result of that, you do not become so caught up in their stories. That's their opinions. That's their deluded perceptions. That's their stories. You can see how troubled and how hellish they are in their present life situation. They have multitude of stresses and problems in health, in family life, in their career, in the whatever various department of their lives not going well. So people tend to be very negative. They just are moaning and groaning about something, but actually it's nothing about the things, it's all about their misreporting. That we have to understand sentient beings, and we should not let them to confuse us and misunderstand like they are. And that will enable us to be very present in terms of helping them, but not to yet let their negativities drive us or hijack us, because that's their perception, that's their opinion, because they are themselves under the cloud of greed, desire, hatred, and ignorance, and then they will be like that. It doesn't take very long to people to behave like that. When they're under the spell of the afflictions, and then they don't even know it's their afflictions, and they don't know what they're doing, because they don't understand themselves. How can they understand that what they are saying or doing is going to benefit anybody? A majority of sentient beings don't understand that, and they become poisoned. They become quickly poisoned, and because most of them has no understanding that this is all resentment, this is all anger, this is all jealousy, this is all competitiveness, this is all about that. This is nothing about the object or the subject. This is all about their own discontentment. Samsara is full of discontented people, and you are not alone, my dear. You're just one of too many of these. I'm too familiar with these, and sentient beings are like that. So therefore, do not get swayed negatively, but rather see their trouble as a hell in their mind, and therefore understand sentient beings. And say, some people say, oh, my such and such still not talking to me. Okay, they don't talk to you, but they are talking about you to everybody else, So don't you worry. You better that they don't talk to you, because they do, they will talk venomously to you, and then you wouldn't like them talking anyway. So why you want them to talk to you? When they talk, anything they talk about you to other people is negative, what do you think that you're missing? You're missing nothing, okay? You should feel free, out of sight, out of mind, and don't long for the union with another foolish, okay? Sentient beings are only harm for each other when they're together. So if you're not with them, just feel free that you don't have such association, because if particularly if they're the one who's choosing to estrange you or distance you, don't come near you, you shouldn't long for the union. Why? Because if they do talk to you, you think they will talk to you nicely? First send loving kindness to them from yourself unconditionally. That you're talking to them, loving kindly to them. But if you are also sitting here not talking to them because they didn't talk to you, but actually talking to them with a lot of anger and angst and ill will, you are talking to them angrily as much as you think they are not. You think they're not talking to you? They think you're not talking to them. Both misunderstand each other. You both wishing both were nicer to each other. Neither of them are willing to do that. Why can't you start talking to them? Say something nice. Prove them that you have changed. Prove them that you could do different things. Then of course they will have reason to modify their approach to us. Otherwise, we feel abandoned by them or rejected by them, and they also feel just as much rejected and not appreciated by them. If someone is not talking to you, chances are they think we are not valuing them as much as they deserve. Do you understand that? We don't. We think we are abandoned by them. See? Sentient beings always misunderstand each other. That's the problem. So we need to learn to see, if they don't talk to us, chances are that they think we have not been worthy of them having to do anything with you. And they may be partially true, by the way. It's a hard pill to chew. It's a bitter one. That's the truth, Because we are not perfect. We are also deluded sentient beings. Maybe they have a reason not to talk to us, but if we talk to them nicely and show them as we do care about them, they will change. You might even have a very nice talk. But otherwise, what's the point of longing for a talk that's only going to be a problem? So therefore, we have to stay in isolation for a while and then try to revisit that with grace and compassion and forgiveness, and maybe make a vow to change to their liking so that we become worthy of accepted again as a father or son or brother or whatever it is. But when we are not willing to do any change from our end, yet we blame it's them not talking to us, we are creating hell of resentment. And we have the great responsibility to understand that we bear responsibility to what we think, and they bear responsibility to what they think, which we can never mind, because we can barely mind our mind. How could we change someone's mind? We can only change their mind if our mind is willing to bend. In Buddhism, we don't talk about needing to bend a spoon. We definitely talk about needing to change our thought. That's much more powerful than bending spoon on the stage in front of a naive crowd. Change your mind. Change your narrative. Get yourself out of the hell of poor me mentality. And that is really good meditation. And that shouldn't be delayed. So now we will have a few minutes of taking some questions or comments. If you have, please feel free to do that. And those of you who are on Zoom, I don't know whether I can access the Facebook one or not. If I can, I'll do that. I think I can. If you have any comments, please, comments or questions, please feel free to do that. Yeah, so there doesn't seem to be any pressing questions. If you have, I'm sure you're most welcome to raise your hand. A couple more minutes, I will allow you. Yes.
Thanks for your teachings. As always, you're really clear, and I think if we're not overwhelmed, then we understand because of your clarity. But personally, with deluded irritation and anger, it usually happens within the family situation because they're the ones that you're with all the time. It often arises because one's fatigued, and as experience and practice goes on, patience becomes faster to remember. So I have noticed over the years with my mum and I that I'm much better at controlling anger, but it still does arise. So it seems like it's going to go on forever and ever. What else can we do apart from train? Nothing, I guess. Just train and train and train.
Yes, Kathy. It's not the absence of anger. It's the presence of noticing the anger and ability to bring on whatever level of patience you can practice, and therefore being able to de-escalate the duration, the intensity, and the aftermath of the anger. We wouldn't be human if we don't have anger. We are still in this skin and bag of skin, and we still are this. We will have emotions. If we otherwise, we would be just a cabbage, So useful for the lunch. We are human beings, so all human beings have certain degree of emotions, and just question is that how long do not we suffer as a result of little bit of sign of fatigue and irritated and have a little exchange and then quickly really not worry about it. Actually, that's a fair share of what being human is. But deep down, having no resentment, bitterness, and the kind of incessant anger and hatred people have over one issue towards a fixed object. But to become irritated, even His Holiness Dalai Lama says he let the mosquito suck his blood, and after a while he has to tell him off, go away. He says, you have enough share of feet today, now get out of my body. And so we don't have perfect. We don't have quite reached that level of the Mahasattva, the Bodhisattva who fed his body to the hungry tigers, and without any sense of attachment. We still are human beings. So we need to, it's not so much the lack of a hatred, it's the presence of compassion that quickly quells the object and subject of hatred. And then how many times you are able to shorten the duration and the velocity of your hatred. And that is a sign of practitioner. The lack of hatred would be not possible until such a time you reach the at least fourth bhumi. You have to reach fourth bhumi to have no hatred. Thank you, everyone. So next week I won't be able to take this session, but someone will. So please tune in. Whether it will be on Zoom or not, I'm not sure, but definitely will be on Facebook. Then the week after that will be I will be in Siba, and we will be uh, allowing people to join on the 11 o'clock session, even when we are doing in Siba, because we are in a calm abiding 10-day retreat anyway. So we're going to allow people to join in on the 11 o'clock session. So you just have to go to the website and join in, ask for the Zoom saying you're just joining that session. If not, you can see us on Facebook anyway. So we have a bit of time to make those arrangements. I'm sure it will be done just for that 11 o'clock session. Um, so so that's the arrangement for. But the week after that, Sunday after that, it won't be possible. So we will have to arrange somebody else. Anyway, you will get those updates on the weekly newsletter. So with this, we will now conclude here. Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation in this session, and hopefully we are able to understand sentient beings a little bit more carefully, and therefore treat with gentleness. Thank you very much. Oh, by this the deva avironde oceana patadesene ayana jeje whatever mereda heveg meove begas de levels to the ayana jeje courage manju shinyo esama trabadra de lava olove awade zambo ajade dege ode mere mede excellent body jida tebe vedana yadaza where has been born freely without generation. Okay, everyone, thank you. Take care.